Hi, so there's my block pretty much finished to the size I want, and I think you can see some of the quilting, you can see the texture that it gives. So that's sewn a foundation piece with the blocks sewn on top of there and through the wadding. Now I want to show you just another way, which is we've used in lots of our charity quilts, and again really quick way of building blocks that you can then sash together, so you do a quilt as you go but make the blocks separately, which is obviously easier to quilt, and obviously this method's great. So what I've got here is again this is now my backing fabric and a piece of wadding, and I've drawn the diagonal on down the centre of the wadding. So I'm going to put the wadding side up, my fabric is on the back, and that's my backing fabric. So now I'm going to take a strip. So again, my scrap bags, it seems to be like a magic box and it never seems to end, but I found some other bits and pieces. So I'm going to take this piece of fabric, and this is going to be my centre, and I'm going to put it wrong sides down across the diagonal. Now it's going to extend beyond the diagonal, so if you can see it's extending beyond. Now again, I could sew that into place if I want, or I can put a couple of pins just to hold that, or you could spray glue it or fabric glue, whatever you want. Okay, so that's my centre. Now what I'm going to do is work out from there each way till I cover that complete square. Now again, I don't need to measure these pieces. Again, I've just cut these at 2 inches. So this time put right sides together. Now before you sew it, this is the important part. Make sure when you fold this out that this end is covering your backing, because what you might be tempted is to start a bit lower, and when you open it out you've got a gap. So pull this up a bit here. Now I'm going to sew down that side. So these pieces are sitting on top of each other. Okay. Now I call this a stitch and flip. So there's our 2 pieces on, and we flip this piece out. Give it a little press if you want to, or use one of those little roller tools. I found those quite handy. Now don't be tempted to keep going that way. Remember all the principles that we use for quilting. We go one side, then the other side, and the other side, so that the wadding is taking equal amounts of tension. Now don't worry about trimming off the ends, it doesn't really matter. If you want to do a particular pattern, obviously match your strips together. So now I'm going to go right sides together. Make sure that when I open it out it covers the space there. Sew it on. Now because we've got all of our layers in place, this is our backing, the quilting is already there, so we don't need to add any more quilting, but if you want to, add some more. Now these blocks, I can't remember what size they started at, about 10 inches or so. You could do them as 6 inches or 12 inches and then slash them together, or you could join them in blocks of 4, it really doesn't matter, but they grow so quickly. So we're going to go back to this side now. Great way for using up scraps as well. And if you like me, my scrap basket seems to have a life of its own. friends in for parties. It never seems to get any smaller. So you can see how it grows really quickly. So we go back to this side. I made a quilt like this using old shirts, and they work really, really well. They're great if you want to make a quick children's quilt. So if you use polyester sheeting on the back, whatever you want, and a polyester wadding, then it washes really quickly. And obviously it's going to take a hammering. This is not how we make an heirloom quilt, but you know, you need to make a quick present for somebody. Plus as well, they look great. Now this method is the one we used when we made the quilts for young care leavers, and we did try to theme the colours so they were not as completely random as mine. We did try to theme them together, and then we used solid colours to sash them all together, and they look absolutely great. They're quite modern. I mean, this obviously is very scrappy, but you can see how the block, we would trim all these excess pieces off, square it up, and we've got a perfect piece. So then we can make another block that the stripes would go that way, another block the stripes would go the other way, and build them up in rows or groups of 4 by sashing them together. So again, another really easy way. And although this is a stitch and flip, because we've got a foundation that we're working on, it's a great way for getting started, great confidence builder as well, and a great way of using up your scraps. Okay, send me pictures when you've done some.